Alright guys, finally got around to making this overview of my AK-47. Now originally I wanted to wait till I go to my grandfather's, do this outside and kind of get a better view of me and the gun. I can kind of get it all in frame and so forth. But you know what, it's just it hasn't been working out real well between the weather and my schedule and timing. You know, it just keeps getting put off. So I figured, you know what, I'll just break this out and just do it right here, kind of a indoor on the table review or overview rather. Like I said, I kind of wanted this video to go a little bit differently, but I think this will suffice and people will still enjoy it and kind of get I can get the point across inside just as well as outside. But anyway, the whole idea of me doing outside is so you can see the whole gun pretty much the whole time, get a better size reference and all that. But anyway, you guys get the picture here. AK-47s are obviously extremely popular. Everyone knows about them. You don't even have to be into guns. You know what an AK-47 is. It's the most used assault rifle in the world, period. They're probably the most produced as well. There's over 100 different varieties of AK-47s, but they all have the same workings. It's the design. AK-47 is really a design of a gun. Like I said, there's plenty of varieties, all different setups and versions of it. This one you're looking at right here is the one that I own, and this is a CIA GP1975. Now, CIA stands for Century International Arms, not the CIA that you're thinking of, Central Intelligence Agency here in the U.S. That's not what I mean. CIA, again, referring to the company that manufactured this, which is Century International Arms. GP1975 is a specific model of AK-47. Now, let me actually, before I give you any more information, let me take you off my tripod here, if I can do so without getting you sick by going all over the place. And I want to give you a better, side-to-side view of this gun. Unfortunately, it's too big for the camera itself. Don't mind that. I'll get into that a little bit later. But again, just wanted to give you a better view of the gun itself. Kind of a full view. A little bit too big to catch here. I have my tripod, set up as high as I can, but this is the best view I can give you. But anyway, like I said, this is the GP1975, and there's plenty of different models that come from Century International Arms. And this is basically, it was a kit gun, not something I put together, but the company puts together. What they do is they get a Romanian AK-47 kit, and the reason this is called the GP1975 is because these kits were produced in 1975 in Romania. Okay, so it's a Romanian version of an AK. There's all different ones: Yugoslavian, Bulgarian. There's Chinese, copies. There's just a whole slew of them. Like I said, there's over 100 different varieties. But like I said, this is basically a Romanian version. And per, I guess, U.S. Legalities, when they're shipped over the parts, you have to have some U.S. parts put in. So this entire gun, the actual workings of the gun, are original Romanian parts, but the barrel, as well as the receiver, are American-made here in America. I guess, again, that's a legality issue. You can't, import the entire gun itself, I guess, for regulations, tax purposes, whatever. I have no idea, really. But I do know that most AKs, at least the semi-automatic variety that come into the United States that people buy, do have some American parts. You have to, I guess, legally to get them into the country. But anyway, so yeah, it has an American-made barrel and receiver. Now the barrel in this one is 16 inches. It's actually 16 1/4 inches, but it's advertised as just a 16-inch barrel, which is about an average size for an AK like this. And like I said, it is American-made. The overall length of this entire gun, from the very tip of the barrel, not including the flash suppressor, which I've added, I'll talk about that later, but just to the very end of the stock barrel, to the very bottom part of the stock, is 35 1/4 inches long. And the weight on this is 7.35 pounds. So a little under 7.5 pounds, which is not, it's not super heavy for, a decent rifle like this, but, it's not a lightweight. You do get a little bit fatigued after using this for hours on end, as I personally know. Buying a bunch of ammo and going up and shooting this, it is a blast, quite literally. But, after a while, it is a heavy gun. You start getting a little fatigued from it. But, anyway, but as I mentioned, so this is a Romanian version of an AK, but it has an American barrel, an American receiver, and all the furniture on here are made by Tapco. The furniture we're referring to is the stock, the grip on here, the forearm, okay, or foregrip rather. I believe these actually, both these parts have two separate names. One's the foregrip, one's maybe, I don't know, a receiver cover or something. But anyway, this is what the furniture, that's what that means, is all the, basically the plastic parts. Now, originally, you see AK-47s in wood. They're obviously a lot more, recognized with the word wood furniture, having a wood grip and stock and foregrip. I kind of like how it's all blacked out here. The Tapco is actually pretty decent. It's polymer. It's strong. It's not going to break. It's actually better than wood. It'll last longer and be more durable than wood. However, I kind of want to get a wood set just because it has that AK-47 look. I mean, all blacked out is cool, but I think down the line I'd like to get a wood set. Now, wood sets can run you anywhere from, I don't know, $50 to $150 depending on the quality. Most sets I see are about $100. And of course, there's a whole slew of different kinds. You can get it natural wood. You can get it stained. Some versions have actually a pistol grip coming down on the forearm, so you can hold it like that, as opposed to just holding like that. But anyway, there's tons of accessories and options with AK-47s. Another good thing is the magazines. The magazines are just AK-47 mags. They fit in every AK-47. The only difference is that some will be a little tighter, some will be a little looser. It depends on, again, where they're made. If you have a Romanian AK like I do and you get Bulgarian magazines, they may not fit as well, but they'll still fit. They'll still work. Speaking of magazines, what I have in here, this one came with one 30-round magazine, and it's all steel magazine. You can buy polymer magazines and all kinds of stuff. Pro Mag and all these different companies make AK-47 mags, but this comes a nice steel, all steel magazine. I'm not sure where these are made. I believe this is an original Romanian mag, but I could be wrong on that. But anyway, I also got a couple Aftermarket magazines. I picked this up, both of these from cheaperthandirt.com. They're pretty widely available, AK-47 mags. This is a 20-round magazine. Now, the reason I got a 20-round is because I also bought a bipod. And as you saw over here before, I gave you a little bit of a glimpse, is I bought a, this is a dust cover that replaces the original dust cover, which I'll show you in a minute, that actually has a welded-on rail. Okay, so you can put optics on here. And of course, they put a cheap Bushnell scope on here, because I wanted to set my AK-47 up somewhat like, not necessarily a sniper rifle, but something where I can really have more accuracy and touch out, to much larger, or excuse me, longer targets. And a lot of people, have the idea that AK-47s are not accurate, and that is a false statement. If you're comparing it to an AR-15, yes, they're not as accurate as an AR-15 or many other, bolt action rifles or semi-automatic rifles, but they're not inaccurate in general. You can be very, very accurate up to 100 yards with an AK-47. So it is a misconception that AK-47s shoot wildly and they're inaccurate. Again, if you're going past the, 100 yards, if you want to touch something, 300 yards away, then yeah, you'll be better off with other rifles. But it doesn't mean you can't do it. It's just going to be a little bit harder. But anyway, it's not an inaccurate rifle. And that's the whole reason that I got the, I got the bipod and the scope and all that, is because I wanted to actually see how good these are at long ranges. And, for my personal property, I can set up a target about 100 yards away. That's about the furthest I can go. I can't go any further than that, privately shooting like that. Now, I have not yet got to do that. Okay, that is something for the future for me to test and try out. Like I said, I got the stuff, I set it up, but I never had the time to do it, and I'm not going to have time to do it until maybe next year after the winter. Maybe I might make it a project in the middle of the winter, but we'll see how that works out. But anyway, so I switched back. Okay, that's why originally when I showed you this gun, it was all decked out. It had the bipod on it and the scope and the rail and the whole deal. But anyway, what I was talking about is the magazine. Now, when you have a bipod, it's going to sit lower, and you need a lower magazine. This is a lower capacity, obviously, as I mentioned. It's 20 rounds as opposed to the 30 rounds, which is kind of standard. Most AK-47s have 30-round mags. But the 20 round allows it to rest on the bipod without resting. In other words, you can rest the stock on the ground or table, wherever you're resting your gun, as opposed to it sitting on the magazine from the magazine being so long. But you can get all different magazines. Here's a 40 round magazine, obviously a little bit longer. I've seen all different kind of odd numbers too. I've seen magazines that hold, I think, 54 rounds. I've seen, of course, you can get 75 round magazines in this banana clip style. So 75 rounds is just basically this. It's just continued, and it's kind of awkward looking. You know, it just curves a whole bunch. It's a little weird looking. But then, of course, you can get into the drum magazines. You can get 100 round or 75 round up to 100 round drum magazines. Excuse me. And those look a little better, in my opinion, than the really long banana clips. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of different magazines you can get from a whole bunch of different companies. They're very, very cheap. I mean, these AK-47 mags are cheaper than Glock mags, Glock factory magazines anyway. So you know, and they're everywhere. They're not hard to find, which is really good. In fact, all AK-47 accessories are very easily found and very affordable, which makes it you know, a fun gun to kind of play around with and get accessories for. But all right, so that was the magazines. Speaking of magazines, let's talk about the rounds. This specific AK-47 shoots the standard 7.62 by 39, or 7.62 by 39. And I do not have a round here. I don't keep ammo for this gun here at my house. I keep it up where I shoot. So I don't have one to show you right now, which is unfortunate, but you can see that in my shooting videos. 7.62 by 39 is the standard for AK-47s, although some AK-47s do take different rounds. Some take the 223 that your ARs take, you know, and then of course there's some that take the 7.62 by 54, I believe, which is more of a sniper round. Those are different versions. They usually have longer barrels, you know, and they're set up for optics and stuff like that. So again, you can reach out to further distances. The only thing I've changed from what you're looking at here from when I first got it is the flash hider, and that's in the front here, as you can see there. The original, give me a second, I'll grab it here. The original you get is the slant brake, okay, which is slanted here, and it's very reminiscent to a lot of AK-47s. You know, it's going to look like that in the front of the gun, obviously. And the whole purpose of this is that because it's slanted like that, when the bullet's leaving the barrel and all the gas is expelled, because it's slanted, it expels upward, which keeps your tip down for muzzle. So when you shoot, you know, the gun wants to shoot up, you know, from the gas escaping, but because it escapes straight up, it kind of puts pressure downward to keep the you know, the tip of your gun more on target. It's kind of like, you know, like anything else. It helps with some recoil and some muzzle flip, which is what that's called, is when your muzzle kind of wants to climb up. Now, when you're shooting rapid fire and it climbs a little bit, each shot it ends up going like this, boom, 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 and it keeps rising, and you're getting way off target as you shoot. So this kind of helps a little bit. This one, I just prefer the look of it better. It expels gas every direction as opposed to just up, or however you have this positioned. These just screw on. It's real easy to, if I can get a really good view on here, I want you to be able to see this. You just have a little pin, okay? You push the pin down. Let me put this other one down. Push, I'm kind of holding the gun up in the air here, but you push the pin down, and then that releases, and you can unscrew these. Now what's weird is that these threads are the opposite. To unscrew it, you go clockwise, which is just strange. It kind of, I'm not used to that. Usually screwing something down goes clockwise, but in this case, clockwise takes it off. Okay, so there's the difference. And obviously the one that came with the gun is that slanted one. So let me put that on real quick. And to put it on, the same deal. You want to go counterclockwise to screw it on. I know it's against the law of physics. It's just weird, but that's how the threads are on these. And if you look, this one has a little notch cut out, and that notch actually wraps around that pin. So as you go around, it's going to kind of click in place. And for this specific one, you want to push it down all the way so that you get this down all the way in the bottom of the threads. And there you go. So this is how the gun looked when I got it brand new. And I only switched because, again, I kind of like how the other one looks. As far as function, I don't see a huge difference in how they both function. They both serve a purpose, you know. As far as the night's concerned, the other one's going to give you more of a star effect when you shoot. You're going to see the gases and the flame and fire and stuff like that. It's going to be more of a star as opposed to here where it's kind of just going upwards. But there's the original look on the gun. One thing you might notice is that this gun does not have a cleaning rod, which would be underneath right here, going all the way across and then into the frame where that hole is. This gun just doesn't come with a cleaning rod, brand new. You can always buy one, but you know, I don't have one for this gun right now. I do plan on investing in one down the road just to give it that full look of an AK-47. You know, it's just part of it. But this one, I guess, with the parts kits that Century International Arms gets, I guess they just don't include the cleaning rod. But the thing too is that because this has a Tapco buttstock on here, it doesn't have the cleaning kit on the bottom of the stock either. Let me show you the bottom here. By the way, the buttstock is all polymer except for the base plate is actually aluminum. And I first thought, you know, being aluminum and being in your shoulder, that's really going to hurt, you know, with the recoil. It's pushing metal right into your shoulder. But you know what? It's not bad at all. It actually feels pretty decent. The 7.62 by 39 isn't a massive round. It doesn't really hurt. I mean, I can shoot for, like I said, you know, about a half an hour to an hour straight, just having fun, loading magazines and shooting. And I don't feel really sore from it. I get more sore from shooting my 12 gauge. But anyway, there's no cleaning kit in here. Now, the original AK-47s, you push down on a piece here, and then a cleaning kit popped out. And that was, you know, part of your cleaning kit. This doesn't have it. So something else to consider. Now, let me move my camera around a little bit. All right, what else can I talk about? The dust cover. Now, as I showed you here, just an aftermarket piece you can get for these. This is a replacement dust cover that happened to have the rail on it. Very simple. I had some questions on this, even though it doesn't relate to this specific gun. I'll talk about it real quick. People ask me how this fit, and you know, when you're shooting, does the does it come off zero? Because you're not getting a there's a lot of action. Sorry, I'm kind of fumbling my words here, but I'm trying to, you know, think how I'm going to say this. When you're shooting, you have the bolt slides back every single time, and it slams forward to load a new round. And when you have an optic like this, a scope that you have sighted in, people were thinking, well, you know, every time you shoot, it's such a rough shot that it's bouncing all around. Isn't that going to set this different? You know, especially longer distances. If you're shooting 100 yards and your thing moves a tiny little fraction of an inch, you know, that could be, you know, 3 feet off on your shot by the time you get out to that distance. And like I said, I don't have personal experience with this yet. However, I can tell you this locks on very tightly. The piece itself is a little thicker, but it fits really good. And you have 2 set screws in here on the back to also make sure that that's not going to move on you. Once it's on there really good. So I just want to mention that real quick. As far as how this gun works, if you don't already know, I'll show you real quick. Real simple to use. You have your magazine here. This is your magazine release lever. Push that forward, and these rock out. They don't go straight in and down. You have to kind of cam them in. In other words, you put the tip kind of in the mag well, and then you rock it forward, and they click in place, and then you're all set. Once you have your fully loaded magazine in there, you make sure this is your safety. Up is safe, and also acts as a dust cover as well. It kind of blocks that area here, the channel, so nothing get in there. You know, dirt, grime, dust, whatever. But when it's up, the safety's on. You cannot shoot the gun. When it's down, safety's off. You see there's an F for fire, an S for safe. So when it's down, it's ready to fire. Okay, to load a round, pull back on the bolt. Now when you're pulling back, you can see in there. You can see if you have if you want to check to see if the gun's empty. In this case, the magazine is empty, and I'm looking in there. I can see there's no rounds and no rounds in the chamber. Okay, when you pull this back, you want to let go completely. Let it rock forward. You don't want to kind of ease it forward. You want that to slam that round in there. Okay, you don't have to be gentle with these. They're meant to be beaten on. And as you know, they're just extremely reliable. So now the gun is ready to fire. Of course, you can dry fire if you wanted to, and then put that on safe when you're not firing. Put this gun back on the table for a minute. And you know, AK-47s are, like I said, they're just famous for being really tough guns. You can do anything to them. There's been people who found AK-47s that were buried in the dirt, you know, from past wars, you know, 50 years old, and they pulled them out of the dirt, they still had ammo, and they fired. I mean, they just keep going. The reason being is that the tolerances aren't very tight. In other words, all the moving parts in there, on your more precise guns like the AR-15, the tolerances are basically the distances between moving parts. Okay, if you have a gun that has very tight tolerances, in other words, the moving parts are very, very close to each other, you're going to have a more accurate, better gun. But what I mean by better is that there's not going to be too much moving around, so that when you're shooting, the accuracy will be better. With the AK-47, the parts are a little bit looser, and what that allows for is dirt and grime and stuff to get in there and still not affect them. If you have a really tight, let's say you have a moving part, I know this looks bad, but let's say you have a hole here, and here's a bolt that has to slide through the hole. Now if it's really, really tight, it's not going to wiggle around, but the problem is if you get a little bit of dirt or something in there, it can jam up. Okay, it's going to create more friction. Now if you have a looser hole, and this goes through, you can have dirt and mud and all kinds of crap in there, and it's still gonna function. And that's really what the idea behind the AK-47 is. It's a little bit looser tolerances, but that makes more reliability. And maybe that's why it's not as of an accurate gun to longer distances because of that. But what you gain, and what you lose a little bit of accuracy, but you gain a lot of function and a lot of reliability. And that's what people love about the AK-47, is it's just so reliable. It's a fantastic gun. I've had a lot of fun shooting this. This is a semi-automatic version. If you don't already know, you can buy in the U.S. fully automatic AK-47s, but you better be rich because they're up there. They might be $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, and that's not an exaggeration. Fully automatic weapons are very expensive, in the thousands. Semi-automatic versions, a lot more affordable. This one right here was $699, brand new, out the door, and I was very happy with that price, and I got a very reliable gun from it. AK-47s, the semi-automatic versions, they range anywhere from, I want to say, about $400, not in the current market because guns are inflated still a little bit. The prices are still a little bit inflated from Obama getting into presidency and all that kind of scare. But they used to be about $400 for the cheaper ones. One thing I want to compare this to a little bit is the Wasser 10. The Wasser 10 is also made by Century International Arms. The Wasser 10 is a cheaper version of this gun. There's nothing wrong with it at all. They're fantastic guns, and they're a little bit cheaper because of some little things, little details. Like for one example, you can see here in the magazine well, take the magazine out. If you look in here, you see that little dimple? See how this is pressed in, the actual frame? That actually puts a little bulge on the other side. It's going to be hard to see in there because it's all black, but that sticks out. What that does is when you put the magazine in, it actually puts more pressure on the magazine. So when the magazine wobbles, it's very little wobble. Okay, it's pretty tight in there. The Wasser 10 lacks that. Something as simple as that gives you more wobble on your magazines. It's little stuff like that, little fine attention to detail. Fit and finish is not as good. The Wasser 10s generally don't come with the polymer furniture on there. You have usually an unfinished wood, which some people find to be a little bit rough. It's really not a big deal though. I mean, like I said, you can thrash an AK-47. Nothing's going to happen to it. So a lot of people don't care. They just want the cheapest price they can possibly find. And if that's what you're looking for, a Wasser 10 is right for you. They're still going to function the same. They're still going to be extremely reliable. The only thing you're talking about, the difference here really, is just, like I said, fit and finish. Little details like that, like having the indentation on the frame there to make your magazines a little bit tighter. So, besides that, they're basically the same guns. They're not bad at all. People put down the Wasser 10s. They said you got to go out and get, a $1,000 AK-47 by various different companies. And you know what? The more money you spend, generally, the better gun you get. But with AK-47s, they're just they all work. You don't have to worry about that. They all work. What you're buying with the more money is you're buying a little bit better finish. You're maybe, like I said, buying a little bit better features. But you know what? They're all the same gun. They all do work. So I think that's it. I think I covered everything I wanted to in this video. This is probably one of my longest videos so far. I apologize if I sound very long-winded in this video. There's a lot of stuff I wanted to cover. You can break these guns down very, very easily. I'm not going to do it in this video. Maybe I'll make another video, but there's still plenty here on YouTube you can look up and enjoy watching. It's an AK-47. What can I say? People love them. They work. It's a big old powerful round. It knocks people down. It gets the job done. Takes out bad guys. So if you guys are interested in an AK-47 and you're wondering which model you should get, that's basically the short of it, is that these GP1975 models from CIA, they have a little bit better features. That's why they're a little bit more expensive than some of the cheaper ones, like I compared between the Wasser 10. However, you can go out there and get really expensive ones, but that's personal preference. This one works perfectly fine for $700. I am more than happy with it. It's had 100% reliability. I've had zero problems with this. Every round I put in this gun, it fired. I never had a jam. I never had a problem. Every magazine, even these cheapo $20 magazines, they fit fine. I mean, this one has a little bit more wobble. I'll show you that here. You can see the difference. Here's the one that comes with it. It's pretty tight. This one here, you can see there has a little bit more wobble. But it still works. It still feeds perfectly fine. It's still extremely functional. And then here's that 20 round magazine, which is actually even tighter than the 30 round. So it's just, like I said, it's never ending. With the accessories and stuff you can get, you can load up on tons and tons of magazines for very little money. They're not expensive at all. It's a fantastic gun. I mean, I can probably spend another half an hour just saying it's awesome and how cool it is, but you guys already know that. They're AK-47s. Everyone loves them. So if you want to get one, pick one up. You will not be sorry. As far as ammo prices, 7.62 by 39. It's a military round. You can get a lot of military surplus ammo for this gun. Not too bad. I've seen cases of 1,000 rounds for just over $300 to up to $400 or $500, depending on where you get it. But my local shop had it for $310 for a 1,000 round case. If you go online, you buy it online, you can get it for about $400. And 1,000 rounds will last you a pretty long time, unless you have a week you're shooting straight or something like that. 1,000 rounds should last you a while. It's a lot of fun. It's hours of fun. But AK-47, it's a fantastic gun in general, which everyone already knew. That's no new news to you. However, if you didn't know about the GP1975, now you do. It's a nice version. I have to say, it's a very nice version for the money that you pay. So that's it. That's my overview. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you weren't too bored from it. I'll have plenty more shooting videos on the AK in the future, and I will definitely down the line have some long distance shooting with this gun, because I do want to prove the fact that these are pretty accurate. Like I said, up to 100 yards. So there it is. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Take care.